My name is Javaid and it is indeed a privilege for me to stand before you today as the host of this auspicious event. I would like to invite Mr. Ali for tilawat now. Now I would like to extend a special invitation to our esteemed Vice Chancellor to deliver words of wisdom, inspiration, guiding us on the journey of knowledge and faith. Please everyone welcome Professor Dr. Muhammad Mukhtar.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. It's a really blessed day for us that we have our honorable guest, Professor Dr. Javaid Laghari with us. I welcome all the students over here at the National Skill University, Islamabad, as well as all our honorable colleagues who have joined us through Zoom, Facebook, as well as through the YouTube channel. As we all know that we are sitting in a university, that is the UNESCO UNESCO recognized Center for Skill Education. The arrival of Professor Dr. Javaid Laghari is a sweet breeze over here because he is bringing a unique thoughts over here that is strategizing the skill acquisition, that how we can have a strategic way, we can get more skills and we can have a better life. Boys and girls, sons and daughters, and people listening to me and attending this meeting, Dr. Javaid Laghari is a legend in the field of higher education in Pakistan. He was the chairman of the HEC for 4 years, and that is considered as one of the most progressive era after its establishment. Laghari Sahab has several others award, accolade, as well as positions. But I had the unique honor to serve under his leadership as a Vice Chancellor of Islamabad University, Bahawalpur at that time. And then we had a unique collaboration, cooperation when he was serving as a Commissioner of Council of Academic Accreditation in United Arab Emirates. So he was very kind enough. He always used to visit our university, and through affirmative action we got a lot more blessing from him that American University of Ras Al Khaimah got accreditation by the Abbott. Of course, a lot more credit goes to Dr. Laghari sir for this.
Person like of such high caliber, we would like to welcome him with his standing ovation. Somewhere good night, because I see a lot of people also attending on Zoom. So first of all, for the people who are out here, my humble thanks to Dr. Mukhtar, the Vice Chancellor of National Skills University, for an introduction that I do not deserve, but still we have worked together for many years. We have Dr. Nazir Sanghi here, who is also the former Vice Chancellor of Islamabad Open University. Dr. Sanghi also was associated with Zabist when we first established Zabist at its first campus at Karachi. He was heading the computer science program. He was the Dean of Computer Sciences then. We have Ms. Kiza here also from NAFTAC. We are kind enough that somebody from NAFTAC is coming here to attend and listen to this talk. And then on Zoom, of course, I see many people from around the world. Let me just name a few honorable mentions. We have Ms. Anna Weisberg. She's attending from Moscow. Dr. Barkat Charania, I noticed he's from Houston, Texas. We have Shay Waldrop, from Los Angeles, California, Dr. Nizam, who is the former chairperson of the Punjab HEC. He's attending, and then of course the list was so long that if I start taking names here, we will hardly have any time to talk. So I'm going to be speaking on a very important subject today. And you know, degrees, and I've always been a degree man, and I've always been a proponent that nothing else in education matters unless you have a degree, you have a higher degree, and of course many of us have been lucky and fortunate to end up with a terminal degree called the PhD. As important, and sometimes even more important than people receiving degrees, and that is the world of credentials. That is the world what we call as micro-credentials of certification of learning skills in almost every different area. So now we have two competing worlds, especially in the developed world, in the West, and I'm sure the same trend is coming out here in the Eastern worlds and underdeveloped country, where big students, the young generation is starting to make a choice whether to learn skills, shorter skills, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, at most 1 year, or to go for at least a 4-year degree, which is a bachelor's, or a 2-year degree, which in the American system is an associate degree, and then another 2 years for a master's, maybe 3 to 5 years for a PhD. So we are out there. So that is something that I would want to talk about. Can we have the slides there, please? Yeah, can we have the next slide, please? Okay, so anyway, currently, you know, of all the different hats that I have worn in the past, generally speaking, I say when my mother left me in kindergarten, even to the present day, I have not come out of school. So I've always remained associated with schools, universities, colleges, and academies. And even currently today in Houston, Texas, in addition to running a think tank by the name of the Forum for Dialogue and Diplomacy, which is about US-Pakistan relations, we also have what is known as the American Skills Evaluation Institution, that basically is an accredited body that focuses on evaluation, testing, and accreditation of skills, of certificates, and of institutions in general. So that is what it is all about. Can I have the next slide, please? So here what we are going to be talking about is the world of skills, where people take a certificate or a multiple number of certificates, and how do we strategize ourselves. I think this will be very good. So, can you hear me there? Okay, I think this is better. So, we all know, and especially this is the emphasis that I would like to give, is the importance of skill acquisition. What is happening today is, in the United States, particularly where I come from at the moment, 2/3 of jobs actually say, even in the advertisements, they say, well, you need a degree, a bachelor's, a master's, particularly, or even an associate degree. But there are still 1/3 of the jobs that are only looking for post-secondary certifications. And in particular, they are looking for specialists, they are looking for experts in particular subjects that can immediately come and solve the problem. And as a result of that, what is actually happening is that, like I said, we are finding two competing worlds, people coming with degrees, people coming with skills. And even today, a large number of organizations now are choosing that. Their advertisements are not saying anymore that you have to be a graduate, like, and unfortunately in Pakistan we still say that well, you must have a bachelor's degree, you must have a master's degree. They say you must have the right skills, and then they interview you. So 1/3 of the jobs today in the Western world do not necessarily need a degree. One needs to understand that. Therefore we see a whole world, a whole universe opening up for people who do not necessarily want to go to a university or to a college to acquire a formal degree or to acquire a terminal degree. They want to go and learn skills. Can we have the next slide, please? And then what happens is, what the large mega employers have seen is when even in Pakistan also, you know, even if you employ graduates from some of the leading institutions here, and when they go and work for multinationals,
what we find is they again have to go through training, 3 months and 6 months, because they are very good with books, they are very good with formula, they can solve different things. But when we look at the practical aspect of things, whether it is marketing, whether it is management, whether it is HR, their skills are not as good. So they have to undergo certain training. So whether these are in-house trainings or whether these are trainings that they are sent to different academies or different organizations or institutions too. So organizations and the industry today is still spending a lot of money retraining the employees, those who have already come in with degrees from leading institutions. So that is why they are starting to think, well, is it even worth it? That we are getting people and again investing in a lot of these people. So what is actually happening is they are looking for now people who have the right skills. And as you see out here that just in the United States, even today more than 8 billion jobs are unfilled at the moment because people do not have the right skills. And that is why they have so many of these certificate of these visa programs, H1, H2, I don't know what not, that they seek people from outside. You will be surprised, for example, that even the truck drivers, the big container trucks, 18-wheelers as they are called, there is a huge shortage of truck drivers. They need 18,000 more truck drivers in the United States that they do not have. And all it takes is 3 months to do an online course on how to drive a truck, to pass, using simulators. And that is one thing I was also mentioning to the worthy Vice Chancellor here, that from around the world people are learning skills like driving a truck and passing the test, applying for a visa, and within 3 months they are getting a visa and they are getting as much as like $40, $50, $60 an hour. So here is an example, a normal high school graduate with no degree. At another end of the spectrum are the nurses. I'm not talking of the registered nurses with degrees, that comes from the universities, but LVNs, just vocational nurses that typically go through maybe 1 year of training. And just in the state of Texas alone, where I come from, there is a shortage of 8,000 vocational nurses. And a lot of these institutions around the world, from Philippines and particularly India, they're capitalizing on nursing skills and sending them over to the developed world. So you can see what is happening out here is people are focusing and orienting themselves more and more towards skills. Next, please. So in the beginning, of course, there was some type of resistance, but now when the big players like Apple, Google, Tesla, if you look at their most recent advertisements over the last 2 years, you will very clearly see that they are not looking for graduates. They are looking for people who can immediately come, join the company and get into action right from day one. So they are looking at people with the right certification, but when I use the word, I said the right certifications that are accredited, certifications that are recognized. So for example, if somebody out here, XYZ Institute goes out and says, well, I've done a course in networking and I want to apply to Tesla, they are not going to get a job because that course from institution ABC or XYZ is not recognized. So they say, well, are you accredited? Are you recognized? Which body are you recognized with? So this recognition becomes very important for the credibility of a person who is applying for a position in any of these organizations. These are just a few examples that I've given out here. There are almost hundreds of organizations within the US. I'm again talking mostly about US. The same, I believe, is true in the European Union and many other countries of the world. And now, if you just look at the higher education sector, over the last, particularly after COVID, the enrollment in all universities in the US are falling. Enrollment is dropping. And there are two reasons for drop in enrollment. One is the affordability, because the cost is going up, the tuition fees is going up, so they are no more able to afford higher education. And the second one is again because of these factors that they are saying, well, why even go and get a university degree? Just go and learn a skill for the next 3 months and 6 months and find a job. So the result is now the center of gravity is shifting now from universities and colleges to a lot of these bodies that are offering certificates and skills, becoming more and more important here. So there is a paradigm shift that we see out here, that they are no more seeking 4 years. I mean, even before that, even my own concern used to be that when a child or a girl or a boy joins a 4-year degree program, you know, if you look at the curriculum, the first 2 years, technically speaking, I graduated as an electrical engineer. But all the subjects of electrical engineering were only in the 3rd and 4th year, which are called the junior and senior year in an American system. The first 2 years are typically service courses. You're studying English, you're studying history, you're studying Pakistan studies. So by the time you miss 2 years, you've already made up your mind that you want to go in a particular field. And the next 2 years, you're not even studying what you want to go for. It's only in the 3rd and 4th year that you are kind of becoming a specialist. So why even wait for the special 3rd and 4th year? Why not just do it up front? If you can learn and get a job, why not? So this is the problem, that there are people who have already learned the subjects of 3rd year and 4th year, but they do not have the subjects of the 1st year and the 2nd year. Therefore, they do not have a degree, but their knowledge is as good as somebody who is a graduate. Obviously makes sense to you, right? Can I have the next one, please? So anyway, this more or less is the same thing, that especially after COVID, where a lot of universities were shut down and people went online and people were doing remote learning, enrollment had automatically dropped in the campuses, and then people said, well, why not just in the meantime take advantage and learn something which is only for 3 months and 6 months. So that especially COVID, the post-pandemic era, is the one that has started causing a shift in the gravity from degrees to skills. Next one, please. This gives you an example of the credential offerings around the world. This is obviously from a source called the Credential Engine. There are currently more than 1 million unique post-secondary institutions that are offering. Out of those, only 350,000 are offering degrees and certificates. But then if you look at the number of 656,000 are offering certificates, license, certifications, apprentice, 56,000 are offering diplomas. So now look at all these numbers, and they are all accredited, recognized credentials. So when you start looking at people who are, or institutions that are offering certificates which are not recognized, which have not been globally evaluated, tested, then they are usually at a drawback in terms of getting jobs. So all those people, they need to spend. And there are also many, for example, I've run into people who have just learned the skills from YouTube. They've not even gone through any institution, and they are experts, but they have no certificate. How can they end up getting a certificate? So then there are bodies, of course, who will go and test them. So they have not gone through any formal classroom, but they have the skills. And if they can be tested by a credible body, they can get a certificate and they can end up getting a job, because now they have a certificate, even though they have no formal education. So they're moving almost into the era of people getting themselves tested and evaluated first before they seek positions. Next one, please. So this was the one I just mentioned of self-learners. There are many, in tens of thousands of people, and it's the fastest way to learn. And some of the latest things that actually even take 6 months to a year to hit institutions are already available online in YouTube channels, for example. There are many bloggers and other people who are teaching you about the state of the art. Like, for example, you have the ChatGPT. Hardly any institution is offering ChatGPT, but if you go online, you'll probably find 50 different educators who are teaching you how to use ChatGPT in marketing, how to use it in management, how to use it in whatever. Then obviously there is the world of regenerative AI, there is the world of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and so on. The world just doesn't. So there are so many technologies, unbelievable. 2 months back I gave a lecture at Comstack, and I actually talked about the game-changing technologies. Because technologies change so fast. I generally say that the half-life of a technology is 1.5 years. If you have not learned a technology and not capitalized on it in 18 months, then the technology already starts to become obsolete. So when you are talking about degrees, 4 years, I mean, you are going into an era where you yourself have become dinosaurs. Okay, next one, please. So this is the trend here that more and more institutions around the world are increasingly offering recognized and accredited. So the important word is the accredited. Just like Dr. Mukhtar mentioned that when I was a commissioner at the Ministry of Education in the United Arab Emirates, even the UAE said, like they have an equivalent of an HEC, which is what we were, but they said all programs must be accredited by global organizations, even in the United Arab Emirates. So they might have an engineering program, but all were required to get accreditation from ABAT. Similarly, all business programs were required to get accreditation from AACSB. So there are, for every subject there are accreditation bodies. So accreditation becomes even more important than recognition by the government itself. So the UAE government has already moved away. Of course, they say the first requisite, the requisite is that you have to be recognized by us, but that is not enough. Go and get yourself evaluated and recognized by an independent body. They've already gone into that phase. Okay, so next one, please. So now, what happens when you have started acquiring many, you don't have a degree. You've started acquiring many skills. Okay, A, B, C, D, then you have G, N, okay, Q, Z. A lot of gaps in between that. Just like I gave you the example of a 4-year degree, then maybe if you do the 3rd year and 4th year, you don't do the 1st and 2nd year, you don't have a degree, but you have all the skills of your relevant subject. So here you are talking about the developed world is already moving into the world of what is known as stacking. So you are, think of a matrix, horizontally and vertically. And plug in all the different certificates that you have acquired or collected over a period of time. You see a lot of gaps. So there are now bodies who are evaluating all the certificates that you have taken over a lifetime, whether self-learning or through an institution, and what is the deficiency that you have, and they will come up and evaluate your profile, your credentials, and they will say, well, take these 4, 5, 6, 7 different subjects or learn these skills, and now you have what we would call as the equivalent of a complete degree. Does it make sense to you, right? You would have that. But who's going to recognize that as a degree? Because it's not a university. So these bodies, just like the American Skills Evaluation Institute is doing exactly that. They are looking at people who have learned various skills, okay, stacking them together, identifying what needs to be done before a person can be equivalent or be called equivalent to an accredited degree. Obviously, there are challenges here, and some of the challenges here are, let's go down to each one of these: stacking framework, access, lifelong learning, quality assurance, and recognition. These are still challenges that have to be overcome before those who have done certificates, credentials, can become equivalent to or even better than those who have got degrees. Okay, next one please. So what is stacking? Stacking is obviously, just like I explained, combining small learning units, which are certificates, micro-credentials, etc., into a larger qualification, and then allowing the learner to accumulate whatever they have done over a period of time. So it also doesn't have to be over a 4-year period or a 2-year period. You might have learned all these skills over, lifelong learning, 15-year period. So you are going to be accumulating all of that. And then there has to be a flexibility also. It doesn't mean it has to be a rigid pathway. The whole curriculum has got to be flexible also. So when you say bachelor's of electrical engineering, well, that's rigid. But now you might call it a bachelor's of creative engineering, as an example. And you would get a degree in something which is a new subject, because you have put together things that did not exist before, and you have created a new degree or a diploma. Next one, please. So that's stacking. Then the framework, of course, just like we have a national qualifications framework even in Pakistan, and we have similar frameworks all over the world. You need a framework for, obviously, which I say the rules of the road, providing guidelines and structures for organizing educational offerings, and combining accessibility across horizontally and vertically, so you form within a certain framework, because they have to be post-secondary. You cannot offer a certificate which is, at a much lower novice learner beginner's level. So it has to be at the right level. So you could have networks or advanced networks or networks 1 and networks 2 as an example. That's what I mean. The level of the learning. Next one. Access. Of course, this is something where we are obviously always looking for equitable access. So only the privileged one should not take advantage of this, but there should be equitable access across everyone, and then allowing them also to choose the relevant. So there should be full of choices. Not just be a very narrow path to learn from. So one would literally move across and even combine different subjects together to come up with even new disciplines. Even with this ChatGPT, I don't know what is the new engineering term they call it. Does anybody know? When they advertise for these new jobs. And then there are things that are called the whisperer. Never heard of there's a position called whisperer, they advertise. So these are the type of new things that are now coming into these words. As different certificates and different skills are being combined together. Next one, please. Lifelong, also we need to recognize, there are people, sometimes you hear there are 40 years old, 50 years old who are still going to college, but now with the social media, the YouTube, Instagram, you have Twitter, which is now called X. So many offerings are taking place that people who are even retired are learning. So there should be no age barrier. The old traditional way is when you apply to a university, you say you should be 18 years old, maximum age 21. If you are not this, if you don't complete your PhD in 7 years, you are thrown out. So all those things are going away. Okay? You could be 45 years and you could still be studying and taking credentials, and finally at one point you say, well, I've done enough. So now let me go and stack everything up and go to one of these institutions like the Evaluation Institute and get an accredited diploma or a certificate or a degree from them. It might even be called, like I said, something as it might be called whispering engineering as an example. Next one. Of course, quality assurance is the most important that we cannot compromise. We have quality assurance agencies everywhere, all over the world, even in the US and Middle East and Pakistan. And there is again the part of the accreditation process itself, that an independent body comes and they evaluate you that what you are actually offering, and the rules and the framework that you are following actually follow into a standard guideline that takes place. And finally, we go into next one, the recognition part, which technically is the accreditation part. When you have completed all those ones, then your certificate, your credential, your micro-credential, your diploma, whatever you have done, actually becomes recognized by a credible body, and then you have strategized everything that you have been learning left and right, put stack together, and you get something that is consolidated and you get a better outcome out of it. Acceptability of matters. So anyway, in light of these developments, this is the strategy what you should be doing. In other words, is professionals should have their credentials evaluated and recognized by reputable organizations and accreditation bodies. Like I said, that is very important. In view of all these openings that are available globally, in view of big organizations not preferring or at least treating them equally, those who have certificates and skills at par with degree holders, self-learners and known from non-recognized institutions should seek proper evaluation and testing of their skills from credible. So testing becomes very important. So even if you have learned a skill from an institution which is around the corner, Java Institute for example, please make sure you have had yourself tested by a credible organization. Or even if you have learned from social media, on YouTube, you have learned about ChatGPT, make sure you have got yourself tested from one of these bodies, because that becomes the best tested part, the evaluation, the testing, and of course, the accreditation part, that lesser known institutes or non-recognized institutes should seek proper accreditation from credible organizations. That is extremely important. Once you have completed all these three stages of evaluation, testing, and accreditation, then I think you are ready to take on the world. And the sky is the limit. So such an evaluation and recognition of both the candidate and the student is essential for facilitating employment opportunities, not just in the US, everywhere, anywhere around the world. So I think this is the message that I have come across, saying how do you strategize the skills that you learn, the skills that you obtain, and how do you make a career out of it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, particularly for my sons and daughters, students is over here. I'm so proud of you that Laghari sir was talking about whisper engineering and you were so quiet you did not even whisper, so clap for yourself. Sir, as always, it's fascinating to hear from you. Now the floor is open for questions.
I'm Professor Dr. Islamabad. I'm Chairperson of Electrical Engineering Department at NHU. So, we are offering a 4-year degree program. So we have our first 3 years in the study and 1 year our students spend in the industry. So we can offer 3-year programs in 1.5 years. So we can offer actually in for 4-year degree in actually you are scaling the skill, we can scale the same level in a 1.5 year or 2 years. So what is the problem is that how we can offer this degree in 2 years that is not recognized by the NTC, not by the HEC. Because people want recognition. So I want this issue. Thank you.
Well, that's a very good question, and me formerly at HEC, we stand guilty of that. Because learning is not about the number of years that we have to go through a formal education. Learning is about the number of credit hours that we have completed. And even in the top universities of the world, even if you see Harvard, for example, or MIT, I mean, there are hundreds of cases where students have completed a bachelor's degree in 1.5 years because they have completed all the credits. People have done master's degree in 9 months or even less sometimes if you can do all 30 credits, if you have the skills to do that or the strength to do that. So the barrier over the number of years to complete, unfortunately, is only left behind in developing countries like Pakistan, and I think these barriers should go away. Personally, this is what I think, that they should go away, because as long as you have completed and learned the skills and you have been tested for them, like anybody else, whether you have gone through a 4-year degree or you have taken 6 years to complete it or you've done it in 1 year, you should be given a degree. That is my opinion. Yes.
Thank you, sir. So we will request our colleague on the Zoom if anybody want to ask question. So please open your mind and go ahead for the question. Anyone from the Zoom? So next question from here. Anybody want to ask any student? लगारी साहब से बात करने के मौके बहुत कम मिलते हैं बच्चों के लिए जो है ना. You should ask him whatever you want to ask about your future skill learning.
See, I've always been a teacher at heart. I started teaching with the moment I completed my PhD, and I still love teaching and I still love talking about. So even I'm not a formal teacher. You move into different roles of administrators and presidents and commissioners. But even then, I think I was probably one of the few. Even when I was elected senator, I continue to teach a course in leadership for the PhD students at Zambia. And even when I was the president of a university, I taught in the classroom. So I love teaching. So please ask me questions like any student would ask out of a teacher.
On behalf of the students, I'm asking, you mentioned that there are many less recognized institutions or even sometimes fake institutions who recognize, give the certification. So how to avoid those actually, find out which one is actually not so recognized, which one is actually, let's say, not, let us say, honored, in the international community and how to avoid that one on behalf of these students.
Okay. Well, generally speaking, I think this has to be your own skills to go through the websites of those institutions or those organizations and filter through it, because sometimes even they use a lot of misleading languages. So for example, if they say that we are accredited with ABC, then the best thing is now to go directly to the ABC organization, whatever that body is, and see whether in their list of institutions that particular institution is listed or not. That's very important. So you have to check it both ways. And when it says that you are recognized by ABC organization, now you also have to verify whether that ABC organization itself is an accredited body. So for that, for example, within the US, we have two platforms. We have one called the CHEA, which is the Council for Higher Education for Accreditation, and the other one is the Department of Education at Washington, DC. So institutions are usually or always registered with the DOE, Department of Education, and all programs actually, or the accrediting bodies like ABAT, for example, or I gave the example of ACSB as an example, all those are actually listed out there. So irrespective of what even an institution says on their website, it's always good to verify. Without naming one, only 2 weeks back in Houston, Texas, there was an institution that actually gave a presentation, and I thought it was like a Takiwi institution, to be honest with you. And they were saying we are accredited by XYZ. And I did not challenge them, but I did not believe it. So I went back and I did my homework, and I found out they are not. But they were misleading people. So a lot of institutions mislead. I think that is why it is your own homework to go and find out whether these institutions that are offering courses are credible or they are not credible.
Thank you, sir. We have a question from Professor Dr. Nizamuddin Saab, जो पंजाब हायर एजुकेशन कमीशन के चेयरपर्सन भी रहे हैं. Sir, go ahead.
The stage is 48.
Sir, we can hear you well. Go ahead, Nizam sir.
Okay. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I want to first of all congratulate Dr. Laghari this very timely talk and seminar on strategies skilling position. I've been working on this issue for the last 3-4 years, and I believe that this is the way to go forward in the future of the higher education sector. Many universities in America and UK have started establishing a center of excellence in addition to their departments and faculty. These centers of excellence are offering specialized courses which are certified by certification agencies. And these students are taking simultaneously these courses while they have degree programs. They have started converting the credit hours to degree programs they want to. Otherwise, they can go immediately after certification get the jobs. I think we need to really create awareness among our young population. In fact, by the way, it's happening already. Many students in Pakistan, for degree admission holders, are already taking short courses while they study for degree. Well, since we cannot change curriculum so fast, I would suggest we should go for a short course, but certified short course, not any short course. We should recognize short course, as Dr. Laghari emphasized. Emphasizing that we need to have certified, recognized short courses, which is only then good job. Otherwise, you can have short jobs, which many of us are doing in Pakistan. I think this should be, in my opinion, the main mantra for skills university. Awareness of the schools that get what degree program, talk about certification in the future. Those who want to go to degree program, they can go ahead. There will be only those who want to have PhDs in teaching profession, they can go to degree program. But otherwise, primarily, the majority of them for short courses, especially internationally recognized short courses. Thank you very much.
Let me respond and acknowledge the services of Dr. Nizam also. Dr. Nizam actually came as a foreign faculty first. He was already at the United Nations in New York, and he was teaching at Columbia University, and he came to Pakistan, gave up his positions in New York. And then subsequently he was appointed the Vice Chancellor at the University of Gujarat during my tenure. And I had the honor, of course, of visiting his campus. He was the first that University of Gujarat and him being the first Vice Chancellor who actually introduced the community-based programs, which is the associate degree in Pakistan. That was the first university that introduced this program under his leadership. And when I visited there, so students were actually learning skills out there at the university. So this was it. And then following him, a lot of other institutions immediately started following the same model that actually he introduced out there. Subsequently, obviously, he also became chairperson of the Punjab Higher Education Commission. So he's basically authenticating whatever I have said, that yes, it's important to have certificates, but make sure these certificates are recognized, they are properly evaluated, you have been tested for it, and you have the right bodies that have actually done it. That is very important, and he basically emphasized on the same thing.
Okay, so yes, from that, we would love to hear. Please. Please introduce yourself.
Assalamu alaikum ji. This is Kizia Hasib Latifi from NEPTEC, National Vocational Technical Training Commission. I don't have a question as such, but there were a few things that I wanted to add to our audience's knowledge. Basically, the accreditation is one of the components of NEPTEC. And if you're looking for accredited institutes, you can find them on our social media pages and website. There's an entire designated body that awards accreditations to relevant institutes after a rigorous process. That's National Accreditation Council. And secondly, we were discussing certifying skills that are required out of school. So basically, on universities. So basically, we also run a program called Recognition of Prior Learning, where we certify informally acquired skills after running some tests. So if anybody is interested, they can also avail these services. So that's about it for me.
Thank you. Question from the top. Yes, go ahead, Beta. You can speak loud.
सर आपके अकॉर्डिंग जो है आप ऑनलाइन की सारी कोर्सेज प्रोसीजर में सर्टिफाइड भी हैं, तो आप एक बच्चा जो है ऑनलाइन कोर्स सीख सकता है और वो सर्टिफाइड होगा, वेरीफाइड होगा, तो क्या उसकी यूनिवर्सिटी जाने की जरूरत नहीं है? और एज अ पॉलिसी मेकर आपके नजदीक में यूनिवर्सिटी को कोई फ्यूचर है या नहीं?
University is not mandatory, it's by choice. If you have good certificates which are recognized and you end up getting a good position with those certificates, you can keep on acquiring higher level certificates, and eventually there will be platforms that you can also end up getting a degree. That's very important. So yes, you can do that also. And to respond also to what Kinza said here, recognition of prior learning, of course, is extremely important, and that is something that is actually a prerequisite to a lot of these certifications and accreditation bodies that actually work on. And now people have started already considering not just the recognition of prior learning. This is important. Now listen to this one. It is the recognition of prior experience. You have not gone through any formal recognition. You don't even have a certificate. You don't even have a degree. And let us say you are an Uber driver, or you are a waitress in a restaurant, okay? And you are a wonderful waitress, and you are getting a lot of tips, and your customer service skills are excellent, okay? And that actually can be documented by the number of tips you get, or even on Uber, the number of reviews and comments you get online. So 4 years down the road, the Uber driver thinks that, I am so good with customer relationship and maybe I should be a manager, but I don't have a degree. So recognition of prior experience is also becoming important, but unfortunately there are no platforms that can evaluate where do you stop and how do you evaluate experience or equate experience to a skill or a certification or a degree. And that is also coming down the road. Okay?
Thank you, sir. One last question, again from Professor Dr. Nizamuddin Sahab, and then I will share with you one of the best news in the history of National Skill University, Islamabad, and then we will, I don't think there is any better moment than today to share that news. And then we will pay our regards to Laghari Sahab ji. Dr. Nizam Sahab.
पाकिस्तान में नेक्स्ट टाइम भी इकनाश करते हुए सारी सर्टिफिकेशन फ्री में करते सब लोग जिनके पास डिग्री होल्डर्स 2 लोग हैं जैसे उनके लिए वो फ्री में करते हैं सब सर्टिफिकेशन इंटरनेट सर्टिफिकेशन एंड ट्रेनिंग फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट पीपल शुड लॉग इन टू लर्न दैट प्रोग्राम एज टुडे रियलाइज करने के इसके बगैर वर्कफोर्स डेवलपमेंट नहीं हो सकती और लोगों को अच्छी जॉब नहीं मिल सकती Where we the school say, please go to the NATEC website and register yourself for a free of cost certification program.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. So, I mean, I know, is this okay? Give me that one. Hello. Like Laghari Sahab is a great scholar. He has, taught like the best of the best university. We can continue this debate for hours, but anyway, for the sake of time, because we have another meeting also. So we have to close this over here.